I woke up in total darkness. My mind, a blank slate. Not just a lack of light, the kind that comes with sleep, but a real, suffocating void. It was like waking up in a nightmare where nothing made sense. I couldn't even remember what I was dreaming, or even if I was dreaming. My hands moved before my thoughts could catch up, instinctively feeling the space around me. The walls were close, rough, and cold, like wood that hadn't seen light in years. I tried stretching out, but there was no room, just inches in every direction. The air was stale, heavy, carrying a dampness that clung to my skin. It was a box. I was in a box. I remember the way my breathing hitched, rapid and shallow, as the realization hit. A box. A coffin? My heart thudded louder with every passing second, filling the silence. I thought to myself, how did I get here? Who would do this? I couldn't even remember my name, where I was from, or why I was here. A haze clouded my thoughts, like static buzzing in the back of my mind. The more I pushed against it, the thicker it grew. I pounded on the walls with weak fists, but the sound barely registered, a muffled thud, swallowed by the box. No echo, no sense of space beyond the walls. My throat was dry when I tried to call out, "Help!" A raspy whisper spilling into the still air. No one would or could hear me. The panic came in waves, crashing, retreating, and crashing again. My palms grew slick with sweat, nails clawing at the surface above me, dragging across rough wood and metal. The lid wouldn't budge. I was trapped. Then, as if on cue, I felt something underneath my back. Something sharp and crumpled. It was small, just enough to jab into my skin, but unmistakably there. I shifted and reached down with trembling fingers, pulling free a torn scrap of paper. There wasn't much room to maneuver, but I fumbled to hold it close to my face, my eyes straining in the darkness to make out even a hint of the message scrawled across it. There was something wet and sticky on the paper. My stomach churned at the possibilities. I could make out just a few words in the dim light, scratched in hurried handwriting. Don't trust yourself. I stared at the words, the letters blurring as my eyes adjusted. What did that mean? Who left this for me? I tried to piece together some answers, but all I got were fragments, flashes of a room, a shadowy figure, and then nothing. Each time I reached for a memory, it dissolved before I could grasp it. My body trembled, my breath ragged. Was this some kind of test? A sick joke? Or had I done something to deserve this? No answers came, only more questions. And then, from somewhere beyond the box, I heard it. Faint at first, but unmistakable. The sound of something moving. It wasn't footsteps, more like a dragging, scraping sound. It circled, slow and deliberate, as if whatever it was knew I was there, waiting. I pressed my ear against the wall, hoping, praying for some explanation, but there was nothing, just that sound, circling, like nails scratching at wood. I wasn't alone. The sound outside the box persisted, dragging and scraping with an unsettling rhythm. My heartbeat thundered in my ears, drowning out any rational thought. Every creak, every scrape sent shivers down my spine, heightening the claustrophobic sense of dread that clung to me. What is that noise? It's driving me insane. Why is this happening? I need to focus. There must be a reason for it. Think. What's happening outside? I tried to focus on the sound, but it was impossible to tell how far away it was or what direction it was coming from. The dragging noise came and went, sometimes growing louder, then fading as if moving away from me. I was alone, but not alone. I could feel the presence of something beyond the walls, but I had no idea what it was. The scrap of paper in my hand felt cold and clammy. I turned it over, hoping for another clue, but there was nothing more. I shoved it back into the small space under me, my fingers brushing against something else, another object, small and metal. I pulled it out, feeling the weight of it. It was a key. Why a key? Doesn't make sense. If there's no lock, what's the point? Maybe it's a trick. Or maybe I'm supposed to find a lock somewhere else. Okay, I need to calm down. There has to be something I'm missing. This key, it's old, rusty. But why? Where does it fit? This box has no obvious locks. I need to think. Why would anyone give me a key if there's no place to use it? The scraping sound grew closer. My panic escalated. I pounded on the walls again, shouting into the darkness, hoping for someone, anyone, to hear me. My voice echoed back at me, hollow and desperate. Is someone out there? Or is it just my mind playing tricks on me? If someone is out there, why aren't they helping me? What are they waiting for? Suddenly, the scraping stopped. The silence was deafening, filling the space with a suffocating stillness. I held my breath, straining to hear anything. The quiet seemed to stretch on forever, making my nerves fray further. What had stopped it? Was something approaching, or had it simply retreated? In the silence, I noticed a faint, irregular pattern on the wall of the box. I pressed my fingers against it, feeling the uneven texture. It felt like a seam, a small gap that might lead to another compartment or a hidden feature. I used the key to probe around the seam, but there was no lock or obvious way to open it. There's gotta be something here. This gap feels like might lead to something, but where? Why would they put a key here if there's no lock? Think. Despair set in, a crushing weight pressing down on me. I could feel my sanity slipping with each passing second. The darkness was closing in, not just around me, but within me. My mind was racing through fragmented thoughts and half-remembered images. Just focus on the light, the crack in the wall. It's something. It might be my only chance. I have to believe there's a way out. A chance. Then, from the corner of my eye, I saw a sliver of light. A faint, flickering glow seeping through the crack in the box. I quickly turned my attention to it. My hope rekindled. The light was so faint, it barely illuminated the walls, but it was enough to make me believe there might be a way out. That light, it's real. It's coming from outside. Maybe, just maybe I can get through, but how? The crack isn't big enough. I need to make it wider. Keep going. I pressed against the wall, trying to widen the crack with my fingers. The more I pulled, the larger the crack grew, and the light became brighter. It was coming from outside, but it was still a long way from being an escape. The thought of the light brought a small glimmer of hope. At the same time, I started hearing whispers. Were they real, or am I seriously hearing things? The whispers, they're getting louder. I can't make out the words, but they're there, taunting me. I have to ignore them. Focus on the light. The whispers can't stop me. I need to stay strong. As I continued to work at the crack, I heard a new sound. A distinct, sharp sound, like a door creaking open. I froze, my breath catching in my throat. Had something just opened nearby? Or was it just another trick of the mind? Please, let it be real. Let there be a way out. I can't take this much longer. Keep working. The light, the crack, it's my only chance. The light continued to seep through, promising something beyond the darkness. I could only hope that it was a sign of escape, that there was a way out of this nightmare. But for now, all I could do was continue working at the crack, trying to keep my fear at bay and hold on to that fragile thread of hope. The light from the crack was barely more than a faint glimmer, but it gave me something to focus on amidst the chaos of my thoughts. I worked feverishly, my fingers scraping and pushing at the edges of the crack, desperately trying to widen it. Each movement felt like it took all my remaining strength, but I couldn't stop. The light was my beacon, the only sign that there might be an end to this torment. Why is this so hard? Why can't I get out? Think. What's the point of the light if it's not an escape? There has to be a reason for it. The whispers grew louder, more distinct, though still muffled by the walls of the box. I couldn't make out any specific words, but the tone was unmistakable. Mocking, cruel. It felt as if the voices were aware of my struggle, deriving some twisted pleasure from my desperation. Ignore them. They're just in my head. Or are they? I need to stay focused. The light is real, and it's my only chance. I continued to press harder against the crack, still trying to widen it further. My hands were raw and aching, but I couldn't stop. Each new sliver of light seemed to tease me, promising freedom but never quite delivering. I began to doubt if the crack was widening at all, if I was making any progress. The scraping sounds that stopped a while ago were replaced by those relentless whispers. I could feel the change in the atmosphere, thicker, heavier, like the air itself was pressing down on me even harder. Every breath felt labored, every moment an effort. If I could just get through, just break free of this box, maybe I could find answers. But where am I going? What's waiting for me out there? Are there more of these boxes, or is there something worse? As I continued working, my mind raced with half-formed thoughts and fears. My memories were fragmented, slipping through my grasp like sand. I tried to hold on to anything concrete, a face, a name, a place. But each time I reached for something, it dissolved before I could grasp it. I heard the scraping sound again, this time more erratic, as if it were getting closer. It came and went, circling the box in a maddening pattern. I couldn't tell if it was getting closer or just shifting in the distance. What is that thing? Is it alive? Is it a person? If it's close, maybe it's trying to help. But what if it's not? What if it's something worse? I can't let it get to me. I need to stay focused on the light. It's all I have. The crack in the box was now large enough that I could see the light more clearly. It was still faint, but it cast long, trembling shadows inside the box. The light seemed to pulse, like a heartbeat, matching the rhythm of my own anxious pulse. The whispers were louder now, a jumble of voices overlapping, though still indistinct. They were starting to feel like they were inside my head, filling the void with their relentless murmur. I can't let them get to me. I have to keep going. The light is close, I know it. There's gotta be a way out. I can't stop now. If I stop, I might never get out. With a final surge of effort, I managed to pry a small piece of the box loose. The light burst through, flooding the box with a harsh, glaring illumination. I blinked against the brightness, disoriented by the sudden change. Beyond the crack, I saw nothing but shadows and indistinct shapes. The light revealed that the box was part of a larger room, but the details were obscured. The whispers had faded, replaced by a deep, unsettling silence. I crawled through the crack, pushing myself into the new space. The room was larger, but the shadows seemed to dance and shift in the corners. I tried to make out any details, but everything was shrouded in darkness and uncertainty. As I took my first steps into the room, I felt a chill run down my spine. The air was colder here, the silence more oppressive. I had escaped the box, but the real nightmare was just beginning. I had no idea what awaited me in this new place, but I knew I had to keep moving. The fear was almost unbearable, but the drive to survive pushed me forward. I stumbled forward into the new space, my eyes struggling to adjust to the harsh, sudden light. The room was vast and shadowed, filled with an oppressive darkness that seemed to cling to the walls. The shadows twisted and danced, creating an ever-shifting landscape that made it hard to discern any clear shapes or features. I took a tentative step, my footsteps echoing off the cold, concrete floor. The air was frigid, and a sense of dread settled heavily in my chest. The box I had escaped from was now just a small, looming silhouette in the distance, a grim reminder of my confinement. What is this place? Why did they put me here? And what's with all the shadows? Are they hiding something? I scanned the room, looking for any sign of life or an exit. The walls were lined with shelves, but they were empty, save for a few scattered objects that seemed too distant to identify. The room felt like a labyrinth, the darkness making it impossible to see far ahead. The whispers from before had faded, replaced by that unsettling silence that seemed to amplify the sound of my own breathing. My heart raced, pounding in my ears. The silence was almost worse than the noise. It was like being in a void, cut off from the world. I need to find a way out. There has to be something here, an exit, a clue, anything. But where do I start? From one trapped space into another. I walked further into the room, trying to get a sense of its layout. As I moved, I noticed that the shadows on the walls seemed to shift with me, as if they were alive, watching. I felt a creeping sensation at the back of my neck, the hair standing on end. It was as if the room itself was aware of my presence, reacting to my every movement. I approached one of the walls, feeling along its surface for any irregularities. My fingers brushed against something cold and metallic. A small, recessed panel. I pressed against it, but it didn't move. The panel was locked, but maybe it was a sign of something more significant. A locked panel. Could this be another part of a sick and twisted puzzle? Maybe it's a keyhole, or maybe it's just another dead end. I need to keep looking. I moved to another corner of the room, where the shadows seemed darker and thicker. There, I spotted something, a shape, faint but distinct. It was a door, half hidden by the darkness. My heart skipped a beat. If I could just reach it, maybe it would lead to another part of this twisted maze. I made my way toward the door, my footsteps echoing off the walls. The closer I got, the more the shadows seemed to close in, the darkness becoming almost tangible. It was as if the room was trying to keep me away from the door, to trap me in its oppressive grip. I reached the door and examined it closely. It was heavy and rusted, with an old-fashioned lock that looked almost medieval. I tried the handle, but it wouldn't budge. It was locked tight, with no keyhole in sight. I ran my fingers through the darkest areas of the lock and felt a key-shaped groove. A key. I have a key. Could it be for this door? But the key I found was so small, so old. Would it even fit? I fished the key from my pocket and tried it on the lock. It didn't fit. The key was too small for the door's lock. I felt a pang of frustration. I was so close, but it seemed like the door was just out of reach. I need to find another way. There has to be another key or another clue. I can't stay here. Not with this darkness, not with whatever else might be lurking. I turned away from the door and continued exploring the room. My steps were slow, deliberate, as I tried to take in every detail. As I rounded a corner of the room, I spotted something on the floor, an old, dusty book. It was partially buried under a pile of debris. I picked it up, wiping away the dust. The cover was worn and faded, but there was a title embossed in gold letters, "The Key to the Shadows." What kind of book is this? Could it have something to do with the door? It's probably just another dead end, but I need to check. I opened the book, leafing through the pages. They were filled with cryptic symbols, strange diagrams, and faded notes. It was hard to make out much of it, but one page caught my eye. It had a drawing of a key, similar to the one I had found. Below it were some handwritten notes, partially legible. The key only reveals its true purpose in the presence of shadows. The words were unsettling. What does that mean? How does a key reveal its purpose? I glanced around the room, the shadows seeming to loom larger, more menacing. The book might be a clue, but it's not enough. I need to figure out how to use it, how to understand what it's telling me. The shadows seemed to pulse with a life of their own, almost as if they were reacting to my presence. I could now feel the true weight of the room's silence pressing down even harder on me, heightening the sense of isolation and fear. I have to keep moving, keep searching. I can't stay here. I need to find a way out, no matter what it takes. I clutched the book tightly, the weight of its secrets pressing against my palms. The room was still shrouded in darkness. The cryptic notes and diagrams in the book seemed to mock me, their meaning just out of reach. I have to understand this book. It's the only clue I have. But how? The notes are cryptic, and the symbols, what do they mean? Am I even looking at this right? What if I'm missing something crucial? I turned the pages slowly, trying to make sense of the faded diagrams and strange symbols. The illustrations depicted keys, locks, and shadowy figures. Each page seemed to offer fragments of a puzzle I couldn't quite piece together. This book, it's taunting me. What if it's just another dead end? What if it's leading me further into this nightmare, making me think there's hope where there's nothing? I can't let it trick me. A new sound echoed through the room, a low, rhythmic thumping, like the beat of a distant drum. The sound was faint but persistent, and it seemed to come from somewhere beyond the door I had tried to open. Is that noise coming from behind the door? Or is it just my mind playing tricks on me again? It's driving me insane. Should I investigate or keep looking through the book? What if the noise is part of a trap? What if it's trying to lure me into a worse situation? I decided to explore the source of the noise, but the shadows seemed to close in with every step. The thumping grew louder, more insistent, as if urging me forward. It felt like the room itself was conspiring against me. What is this place? Why is the noise getting louder? Is it a signal? Or a warning? I'm being led somewhere, but where? I need to stay on guard. The rhythmic thumping grew much louder, almost deafening now. It was like the heartbeat of the room itself, pounding against my sanity. The shadows seemed to pulse with the sound, creating a nightmarish dance around me. I need to find another way. There has to be another key, another clue. But what if I'm just going in circles? What if there's no way out, and I'm just a pawn in this twisted game? I turned back to the book, flipping through the pages in a desperate search for more clues. The notes were fragmented, but one passage seemed to stand out. The shadow reveals the hidden path, only when the heart's rhythm matches the beat of the key. What does that mean? The heart's rhythm? The beat of the key? It's like trying to decode madness. How do I know if I'm doing it right? What if I'm making things worse? I glanced at the key I had found earlier. It was small and rusty, its intricate design still a mystery. I held it up to the light, trying to see if there was anything significant about it. The book's notes suggested a connection between the key and the shadows. But how? The rhythmic thumping was almost overwhelming now. It felt like it was getting inside my head, controlling my thoughts. The shadows seemed to close in tighter, as if the room itself was reacting to the noise. If this book is right, the key might reveal its purpose only when it's in sync with the heart's rhythm. But how do I know if I'm getting it right? What if the key isn't meant for this door? What in the hell is this all about? I took a deep breath, focusing on the thumping sound in the key. I moved the key slowly, trying to match its rhythm with the beat. The process was painstaking, and I could feel the tension building with each passing second. Just then, the thumping stopped abruptly, replaced by an eerie silence. The sudden quiet was deafening, and I felt a chill run down my spine. The room seemed to hold its breath, waiting for something to happen. The key felt warm in my hand, almost alive. I inserted it and turned it in the lock, feeling a slight resistance. The door creaked open a fraction, and a sliver of light pierced through the darkness, illuminating a narrow corridor beyond. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. The corridor was dimly lit, with shadows dancing along the walls. The light seemed to beckon, promising answers, or perhaps more questions. What's waiting for me down this corridor? Is this the escape I've been looking for, or another trap? I can't afford to hesitate. I need to find out. With a deep breath, I pushed the door open wider and stepped into the corridor. The light was faint, but it was enough to guide my way. The shadows seemed to retreat as I moved forward, revealing glimpses of the corridor's length. I walked cautiously, each step echoing off the walls. The corridor twisted and turned, leading me deeper into the unknown. The book and the key were heavy in my mind, their secrets still obscured. But for now, the corridor was my path forward, and I had to follow it, no matter where it led. The corridor stretched out before me, its dim light casting long, eerie shadows that seemed to writhe and twist with every step. The air was colder here, and a sense of foreboding clung to me like a shroud. Each footfall echoed off the walls, creating a haunting rhythm that matched the erratic beat of my racing heart. This place, it's like a maze. How deep does it go? What if it's just another trap, leading me in circles? I can't afford to get lost. The corridor wound and twisted. The light was dim and intermittent, making it difficult to see far ahead. I tried to focus on the faint illumination, but the shadows seemed to encroach, playing tricks on my mind. What if there's something lurking in the dark? What if I'm not alone here? I need to stay alert, stay focused. One wrong move, and I could be trapped, or worse. As I continued, I noticed strange markings on the walls, symbols and drawings etched into the stone. They were faded and worn, but some of them looked almost familiar, like fragments of dreams or half-remembered memories. Am I seeing things, or are these markings important? They might be clues, or they might be a warning. I can't tell. I need to keep moving. The corridor seemed to stretch on endlessly, each turn leading to more darkness and uncertainty. The whispers returned, faint and distant, adding to the sense of paranoia. I felt like I was being watched from the shadows. The whispers returned. Are they real, or just in my head? Am I losing my mind? I need to keep it together. There has to be a reason for all this. I just have to find it. I came to a junction in the corridor, where 3 paths branched out in different directions. The light was too dim to see very far down any of them, and the shadows seemed to grow thicker as I approached. Each path seemed equally foreboding, and I had no way of knowing which one would lead to safety, or further into danger. Which way do I go? What if I choose the wrong path? What if they all lead to the same dead end? I need to make a decision. I examined each path closely, trying to discern any signs or clues that might indicate a safer route. The markings on the walls seemed to grow more elaborate and chaotic as I approached the junction, adding to the confusion. The whispers grew louder, more insistent, as if urging me to choose a path. I felt a shiver run down my spine. The voices were indistinct, but the tone was clear, urgent, almost desperate. I need to choose. Can't stay here. I'm already too deep, and the longer I wait, the worse it will get. I decided to take the path to the right. It seemed slightly better lit, and the whispers seemed to be coming from that direction. I hoped it was a sign, a clue that this path might be the right one. The path twisted and turned, the shadows shifting and playing tricks on my eyes. It felt like the walls were closing in, the darkness trying to engulf me if I stopped. What's waiting for me? Am I getting closer to something, or am I just walking further into the abyss? I can't afford to be wrong. I need to find answers. But what if I'm just walking into another trap? As I came around the corner, I saw something up ahead. A door, similar to the one I had encountered before. This one was old and weathered, with strange symbols etched into the surface. It was slightly ajar, and a faint light flickered from within. A door, another one. What's behind it? Could it be another trap, or is it an exit? I have to check. There's no other choice. I approached the door cautiously, my hand shaking as I reached for the handle. The light from within cast eerie shadows on the walls, creating a flickering, distorted effect. I pushed the door open slowly, peering inside. The room beyond was small and dimly lit, filled with strange artifacts and symbols. In the center of the room was a pedestal with an ornate box, similar to the one I had escaped from earlier. The box, it looked like the one I was in, but why is it here? What does it mean? I stepped inside the room. The door creaked closed behind me. The air was thick with the smell of dust and old paper, and the shadows seemed to move with a life of their own. The room was filled with strange objects, bizarre statues, old books, and faded maps. They seemed to hold secrets, but their meanings were obscured by time and darkness. I approached the pedestal, my heart pounding. The ornate box on top was intricately designed, its surface covered with strange symbols and patterns. I have to open it. I need to know what's inside. What if it's a test, or something worse? With trembling hands, I reached for the box. The symbols on its surface seemed to shift and change as I touched it, creating a dizzying, vertigo effect. I took a deep breath and lifted the lid slowly, bracing myself for whatever might be inside. The box creaked open, and I peered inside. The interior was dark and empty, save for a single object, a small, ornate key, glimmering faintly in the dim light. A key. Another one. What is it for? Is this the answer, or just someone messing with me? I reached for the key, feeling its cool weight in my hand. It was similar to the one I had found before, but with different markings. I examined it closely, trying to discern its purpose. The whispers grew louder again, swirling around me. They seemed to be guiding me, urging me to use the key, but the meaning was unclear. I had to decide what to do next. But what? What do I do now? Where do I go from here? I feel like I'm running out of time. shadows are closing in and I can't afford to make a mistake. The small, ornate key felt heavy in my hand, its cool surface a stark contrast to the warmth of my fear. I held it up to the dim light, studying its intricate design and the symbols engraved on it. It was different from the first key, but it seemed to hold a similar significance. This key, it had to mean something. What's its purpose? I'm really getting tired of these games. I glanced around the room filled with strange artifacts and symbols. The small, dimly lit chamber felt like a shrine to mystery and darkness. The pedestal with the box was the focal point, and I couldn't shake the feeling that it was central to whatever twisted game I was caught in. The whispers had become a constant presence, swirling around me like a fog of paranoia. They seemed to be guiding me, but their messages were always just out of reach. I need to use the key, but where? There are so many doors, so many locks. What if I make a mistake? I approached the pedestal again, feeling a growing sense of urgency. I examined the symbols on the box, looking for any hints that might reveal its purpose. The symbols still shifting and changing with the flickering light, giving me a sense of vertigo. There's gotta be something I'm missing. This room, this box, they're part of a puzzle. The key has to fit somewhere. What am I missing? As I turned the key over in my hand, a faint glow emanated from one of the markings on the box. The glow was subtle, but unmistakable, and it seemed to pulse in time with the rhythmic thumping that I had heard earlier. Is it reacting to the key, or is it just another trick? I need to be sure. I looked around the room again, searching for any signs or clues. On the wall near the pedestal, I noticed a faint outline of a keyhole, partially obscured by shadows. It was a different shape from the lock on the door that I had tried before. Could this be it? The keyhole for this box? I approached the outline and tried inserting the key. It fit perfectly, clicking into place with a satisfying, almost eerie sound. The glow from the box intensified, and a low, rumbling noise filled the room. The box creaked open slowly, revealing its contents. Inside was a small, leather-bound book, its cover adorned with symbols similar to those in the first book I had found. The book looked ancient, its edges worn and tattered. Another book. But why? What's the significance of this one? Keys, books, keys, and more books. What the hell is the point here? I picked up the book carefully, feeling its weight and texture. As I opened it, the pages revealed more symbols, notes, and diagrams, some of which seemed familiar, while others were entirely new. The whispers grew louder, almost frantic, as I scanned the pages. They seemed to be urging me to understand, to find the connection between the books and the keys. I need to make sense of this. There has to be a reason for all these symbols, all these clues. What am I missing? As I continued to read, a pattern began to emerge. The symbols in the book seemed to correspond to the markings on the boxes and the keys. The book mentioned a ritual, a process that required aligning the keys, the symbols, and the heart's rhythm. It was a convoluted and cryptic process, but the general idea was clear. To escape or reveal the truth, I needed to synchronize the keys with the symbols. This is it. This is the key to unlocking everything. But how do I do it? I looked around the room, trying to find a way to align the keys and symbols. The pedestal, the box, and the markings seemed to be part of a larger mechanism, but I had no idea how it worked. The rhythmic thumping had returned, louder than before. It felt like it was driving me forward, urging me to complete the ritual. I need to act. I can't afford to wait any longer. The shadows are closing in, and I can feel the pressure mounting. I took the second key and placed it on the pedestal, aligning it with the symbols on the box. I tried to match the rhythm of the thumping with the movement of the key, hoping to synchronize the two. The room seemed to hold its breath as I worked. The whispers were almost deafening now, creating a headache-inducing symphony of voices and sounds. I could feel the tension building, a sense of impending revelation or disaster. The key began to glow, its light merging with the symbols on the box. The thumping grew louder, more intense, and the shadows seemed to writhe in response. What's happening? Is it working? The light from the key and the symbols intensified, filling the room with a blinding glow. The shadows seemed to dissolve, and the rhythmic thumping reached a crescendo. The light suddenly extinguished, plunging the room into darkness once again. I was left standing in the eerie silence, my heart pounding in my chest. Is it over? What have I done? I looked around, but the room was still and quiet. The pedestal and the box were gone, replaced by an empty space. The whispers had ceased, leaving only the sound of my own breathing. I had done something, unlocked something, but what? I noticed a new door had appeared, its surface covered with the same symbols from the books and the box. It looked old and worn, but it was different from the others I had seen. This must be it, the final door, the way out, or the final test. Please be the last one. I approached the door. The door stood before me, a last bastion of hope or doom. Its surface etched with the same symbols that had haunted me throughout this dark labyrinth. What's behind it? Will it be the escape I've been searching for, or just another trap, or some stupid puzzle? I reached out for the handle, feeling a hesitant frustration. The metal was cold and unyielding, and I could feel the weight of my fear and exhaustion pressing down on me. I took a deep breath and turned the handle slowly, the mechanism clicking with a resonant echo. The door creaked open, revealing a dimly lit room beyond. The light was soft, almost comforting, and it revealed a stark contrast to the darkness I had grown accustomed to. The room was empty, except for a large, ornate mirror standing against one wall, its surface covered with intricate symbols. A mirror? Why is there a mirror here? I stepped into the room, the door closing behind me with a final thud. The mirror was old and ornate, its frame adorned with the same symbols from the boxes in the books. It seemed to be the focal point of the room, its surface reflecting the soft light. I approached the mirror cautiously, my heart pounding in my chest. The reflection was strange. It showed not only my face, but also the shadows and symbols that surrounded me. It was as if the mirror had a deeper truth, one that I couldn't quite grasp. What is this? What am I supposed to see? I stared into the mirror, trying to understand its significance. The reflection seemed to shift and change, revealing fragments of memories and images that I had long forgotten. Faces, places, and moments flashed before my eyes. Is this what I've been searching for? My memories? The truth? As I focused on the mirror, a realization began to dawn on me. The reflections were showing me not just my past, but also the truth about my current predicament. The symbols, the boxes, the keys, they were all connected to my own identity, my own mind. The amnesia, the fear, the paranoia, they were all part of a psychological experiment. This place was designed to test me, to force me to confront my deepest fears and secrets. I see now. The boxes, the keys, they were meant to unlock different parts of my mind. This mirror is the final key, showing me the truth. The reflection in the mirror began to shift, revealing a new image, myself, standing outside, bathed in sunlight. The scene was vibrant and alive, a stark contrast to the darkness of the labyrinth. That's it. That's the truth. This is the way out. I turned away from the mirror and approached a small door at the far end of the room. It was unadorned and simple, a stark contrast to the ornate mirror. I opened the door, revealing a narrow passage leading outside. The sunlight was blinding after the darkness of the labyrinth. I stepped outside, feeling the warmth of the sun on my face and the fresh air filling my lungs. The world was vibrant and alive, a welcome relief from the claustrophobic confines of the maze. I'm free. I've escaped. But what now? As I looked back at the labyrinth, I realized that the experience had changed me. The darkness, the fear, the paranoia, they had all been part of a deeper journey, one that revealed the truth about myself and my past. The sunlight was blinding as it washed over me, pulling me from the depths of darkness. I blinked rapidly, trying to adjust to the brightness, and felt a weight lifting from my chest. The room around me came into focus, sterile, familiar. I was lying on a cushioned recliner in a well-lit therapy room. The mirror, the labyrinth, it was all fading away like a distant dream. I was back in the real world, disoriented and confused. "Welcome back, Stephen," said a calm, soothing voice. I turned my head to see Dr. Peterson sitting beside me. Her expression a mix of relief and professionalism. "You did well. How do you feel?" I tried to gather my thoughts, the remnants of fear and confusion swirling in my mind. What happened?" I asked, my voice trembling. Dr. Peterson smiled gently. "You were under hypnosis, exploring the depths of your subconscious. The maze, the darkness, the symbols, they were all representations of your inner fears and loneliness." I sat up slowly, the weight of her words sinking in. "My fears? My loneliness?" "Yes," Dr. Peterson nodded. "Your mind created a vivid scenario to confront the pain of losing your family and the isolation you've been feeling after losing them all over time. It was a way to face those fears and come to terms with your emotions." I looked around the room, the reality of the situation settling in. "So, it wasn't real? It was just my mind trying to deal with the grief?" "That's right," Dr. Peterson said. "It was an intense journey, but you faced it with great courage. Now, we have the opportunity to work through these feelings and find a path to healing." I took a deep breath, feeling a mix of relief and sadness. The labyrinth had been a harrowing experience, but it had also forced me to confront my deepest fears, my isolation, my grief over losing my loved ones, and the struggle to move forward. "Thank you," I said, my voice quiet but sincere, "for helping me face this." Dr. Peterson gave me a reassuring nod. "You're welcome. Remember, it's okay to feel what you're feeling. You're not alone in this." As I left the therapy room, stepping outside, I felt a sense of clarity and hope. The journey had been dark and difficult, but it had brought me face to face with my own strength and resilience. The path ahead was uncertain, but I was ready to face it, one step at a time. The journey through our darkest moments, while excruciating and bewildering, reveals the transformative power of facing our pain. By acknowledging and working through our deepest griefs and insecurities, we reclaim our sense of self and pave the way to a renewed sense of purpose and hope. Hey everyone, thank you so much for listening. With this story, I wanted to have a little bit more variety, so I dabbled a little bit in psychological horror. With the AI, I think I found out what AI's fear is. I believe the AI, if it did have an actual fear, fears would be like claustrophobia in small spaces. Because I asked the AI to write dark, and it did go dark. So I was actually quite impressed. The percentage was actually about 80-20 in the AI's favor. It really fleshed out a very interesting story, because I asked it to be creative, and boy, that surprised me this time. I was the one who added the inner monologue and made sure that things kind of made sense. Some things in the story did repeat, but that is because it's all happening in his head. That was done on purpose. As always, like, comment, and subscribe. Subscribing is the lifeblood of my channel, so please take some time to hit that button and please click all notifications so you can enjoy my stories right as I post them. And as another reminder, I still have my Buy Me a Coffee link. It's not required, but it is appreciated. I do love me some coffee with the mixture of my creativity. And as always, it's okay to be scared. I am too. Embrace the strange, embrace creativity, and I'll see you next time.